We've seen black, we've seen blue. Today, we're gonna see Aurora blue-black. I feel like I said those other ones backwards. Hi, I'm Adam, and I'm an ink guy. I get inks, test them, and share the results with you. Now, there's timestamps down below so that you can skip around to the parts you're most interested in, but if you've got the time, I'd appreciate you checking out the entire video. You can also follow me over on Instagram, and if you're new here and like fountain pen inks, I would invite you to subscribe. I do a new ink review daily. In order to make sure I have a range of experience with this ink, I do the writing samples. I then put the ink into this Nimicine Fission with a broad nib, wrote with it for a day, and used it to take the notes for this video. In order to standardize some of the writing sample, I always use Clairfontaine, Tomoe River, and Rhodia paper. Now, more papers are tested, and they'll show up a bit later. Now, let's look at the writing sample. I picked this ink up in sample form, and to make sure I keep my writing samples consistent, I use a Jinhao 159 with a Goulet 1.1 stub, a Jinhao X450 with a Goulet medium, and a Jinhao X750 with a Goulet extra fine. Let's take a look at the Clairfontaine. We get no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, or shade. The extra fine is the same tone as the stub, with no feathers, spread, halo, sheen, or shade, 14 seconds to dry. The medium is the same tone as the extra fine and the stub, no feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shade, 18 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both show us no color variation. We didn't expect it. We didn't get it. Tomoe River has no bleeding. Expected Tomoe River bleed through or show through. The 1.1 stub has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shade. The extra fine is the same tone as the stub, with no feather, spread, halo, sheen, or shade, and 22 seconds to dry. The medium is the same tone as the extra fine and the stub, no feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shade, 29 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both show us no color variation, which we didn't get. Rhodia has no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shade, with the extra fine being the same tone as the stub, no feather, spread, halo, sheen, or shade, 17 seconds to dry. The medium is the same tone as the extra fine and the stub, still no feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shade, 21 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both show us no color variation. We didn't expect it, and we didn't get it. I agree with Vita. I've learned a lot by doing multiple chromatographies. The one on the left is done the way it's supposed to be done. I put a line of ink down and immediately put it into water for 10 to 15 seconds. And it's very interesting, the color at the bottom. Now, the line does become very definite there with it going straight into water, but the line across the bottom is interesting because it's definitely a green tone that moves up into that blue. It's like a greenish gray. It's really interesting because I was expecting not green. The one on the right, I let dry for 10 minutes before I dunk it into water, and that green stayed entirely on the bottom. It completely bonded with the paper in only 10 minutes. The blue pushed up the same as it did before. Nothing changed, but I really do think that that green tone is going to be a hang-around color. Resistance tests are done to see how well this ink can be expected to perform on the page, and more importantly, how hard it might be to clean from your pen. I let the smear dry for 3 days before testing it. Looking at the highlighter, I would not want to use this in a note-taking situation because of the amount of blowout, blurriness, and feathering that occurs when it gets re-wet 3 days later. Water did remove a little bit of the ink, but very little. It's really not doing a whole lot to it. I just don't think that water is going to have what it takes to get this out. Now, pen flush, while it looks like there's a ton left behind, if you look on the lower right part, you do start seeing it getting very thin, and that's only 30 seconds that a drop was sitting there. So there's the potential that pen flush is all that you need to get this out of your pen. If you don't get it all out of your pen with pen flush, then you need to use the 1/3 bleach solution, which did completely remove it from the paper. But if you use a 1/3 bleach solution, make sure that you immediately flush your pen with water so you don't rust your metal bits. I test ink viscosity with a tilt test that I'll link somewhere. Now, for the inks I've tested, I have found an average viscosity of 2.5, with the realm of normal being from 2.1 to 2.9. Aurora blue-black has a viscosity of 2.61, making it normal. To find my average dry times, I use my writing samples done on Clairfontaine, Tomoe River, and Rhodia paper. I average those. Now, for the inks I've tested, I found an average dry time of 17 seconds, with a realm of normal being from 13 to 21 seconds. Aurora Blue Black has an average dry time of 20 seconds, making it on the very high side of normal, but still normal. Instead of finding inks that look like Aurora Blue Black, I would prefer to find an ink that complements its color on the page. I went with a nice magenta or fuchsia magenta. I went with the Atramentis Fuchsia. The second writing sample is done on Levenger, P. Berger, and White Lines paper. We start this writing sample by looking at Levenger paper. Levenger paper has no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather, spread, halo sheen, no shade. The extra fine is the same tone as the stub with no feather, spread, halo sheen, or shade, 10 seconds to dry. The medium is the same tone as the extra fine and the stub. No feather, spread, halo sheen, or shade, 14 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both show us no color variation. We didn't expect it. It wasn't there. P. Berger, it's a French rules student grade paper. As far as bleed through, the extra fine, it did pretty good. There's some spots it's coming. It would stop me from using the back of the paper, but it might not stop you. The medium, it's really bleeding through, but it's nowhere near touching the back of the page or the page underneath. The medium would definitely stop you from using the back of the page, though. It means that that medium has tons of ghosting. Even the extra fine, the ghosting is kind of medium at best. It's not horrible. The stub has no feather, spread, halo sheen, no shade, so it's performing really well on a really inexpensive paper. The extra fine is the same tone as the stub with no feather, spread, halo sheen, or shade, 5 seconds to dry. The medium is the same tone as the extra fine and the stub with no feather, spread, halo sheen, or shade, 6 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both show us no color variation. We didn't get it. And then we have White Lines paper, where it also did very well. There's minor bleed spots that are occurring on the medium. Nothing's going on with the extra fine. The medium, because of the minor bleed spots, means there's a lot more show through that occurs, but again, the extra fine, it's doing very well. The 1.1 has no feather, spread, halo sheen, or shade. It's performing great on these cheap papers. The extra fine is the same tone as the 1.1 with no feather, spread, halo sheen, or shade, 7 seconds to dry. The medium is the same tone as the extra fine and the stub, still no feather, spread, halo sheen, or shade, 9 seconds to dry. Scrubby for both show us no color variation. We didn't expect it, we didn't get it, and that is all that I have for writing samples. So what do I think of Aurora's Blue Black? In the swab, it looks perfect. It looks like the perfect blue black for me. In the writing sample, it's just too dark. It's too much black for me. So what pen and nib give you the best writing experience? That's hard to tell because in every pen I used, it basically gave the same writing experience and the same color all the time. Your choice. I'm going to remind you that I'm here every day with a new ink review. Thanks for watching.